has. Because I don't think queens and Zerg for the Zerg race aren't pretty or beautiful. They're more like distinguished, you know.
Yeah, they're distinguished. That's one of those words where you don't say, "Oh, she's unattractive." She's distinguished. She's special. That's what they called me in high school. You're special, man. They don't insult you directly, but we all know technically it's an insult. Poor queen.
Pal boy says they're kind of handsome when they make me a sandwich.
Oh, that joke never goes away.
Just,
I do like sandwiches though. Tuna.
I do like sandwiches. I'm gonna make myself a PB and J after this cast. In the meantime, we'll focus more. We'll have this debate a little bit later, Robin. But White Raw, you know, speaking of pretty women, his wife is actually very stunning indeed. Very lucky man, and looks like he's going to be scouting a lot earlier. And he's just again opening the same exact way.
Yeah,
right?
TLO opening up with that pool first. I understand the reasoning behind it. It's safe. But I don't think it has to be done so early. I would even venture off to say you can go for a 16 pool. If he's really wanting to have lings up pretty early on and still get a hatchery up and still have an economic build, just delay that gas a tad bit longer. But for some reason, he really likes to have that 14 pool available to him. We saw him do a 12 pool earlier on as well, and there we go. TL somehow sneaks a drone by. Oh, but White Raw actually gets him in the time, so we won't be having a hatchery up. We actually had TLO at 290 resources, not 300. Now finally going to get his hatchery down. And Probe still doing a little bit of harassment, kissing that spawning pool, making love to it. It is so darn handsome. All that green jelly up in there. Checking over to White Raw though, throwing up a Forge. He actually went Nexus first into a Forge. We've been seeing him do Forge, even Gateway into Photon Cannon and then Nexus. But this time we actually have the Nexus first, followed up by a Forge into now the Gateway actually. Should be throwing out a Photon Cannon pretty darn soon. But you actually can get away with this. This map's pretty darn huge. And again, from the last few games we've watched TLO, we haven't seen anything too crazy in terms of real early aggression. So White Raw now capitalizing on that, doing a macro build.
Yeah, so White Raw, nothing too out of the ordinary. This is Daybreak, one of my favorite maps, just because again, there's 3 different paths you could take to your opponent if you choose to go through the middle destructible debris. It's a really good map. And I mean, there's a lot of risk versus reward in terms of going for 3rd bases and 4th bases.
I'm sorry, I'm reading the chat, and he goes, the caster is confused. It's White Raw's wife who's the lucky one. It's true, man.
It's true, man.
White Raw's a handsome, fun guy.
Hey, stop! You're taking my lines now. We both said it's true, man, at the same time.
Jinx, you owe me not a Coke, a Dr. Pepper, because it's way better.
You are MLG institutionalized. Although, if you ever been to an MLG, they give out free sodas. If you live in Europe and whatnot, and they ever have an MLG close to you, which I heard they've always wanted to, MLGs give out Dr. Pepper, and ever since then, I've loved Dr. Pepper. And MLG's a great company. They've been doing a lot of stuff for esports, especially StarCraft 2. Expect great things, especially because Robin's a caster at MLG.
No, the beta caster.
He's a caster at MLG. And in the meantime, we'll focus more upon what White Raw is doing here. He's looking to see if TLO is going to take a fast 3rd hatchery, just like he has been doing the previous game. But nope, he has not been. TLO more than satisfied with right now just droning up peacefully. It's a time of harvesting.
TLO getting out the double gas and get up his speed, get out of lair pretty soon. We've been seeing a lot of Zerg players as of late. We see TLO, he's actually grabbing that Evolution Chamber and then getting Carapace from the builds that I've been watching him. But we've been seeing a lot of players, especially after Day 9 did the whole thing, and I started noticing it a lot, is we see Zerg players going for that double gas after they get that 3rd hatchery, to get out their speed, to get out their lair really fast, and start their roach speed, and then go for upgrades. Roach mobility is so darn important, especially in a PvZ matchup. It really allows you, if your opponent overcommits, to really get up in their face and hug those stalkers and take them down really, really fast. Stalker retention is so important for Protoss in the early game if they don't do any damage on your economy. So we should be watching out for that. Actually, we have Roachhorn now going down, Evolution being queued up. So it looks like TLO's going to be doing the same build, getting his speed up, getting that level 1 Carapace, which helps out a lot for his Zerglings and his Roaches. So it's a nice upgrade to have, and he's still droning up like crazy, checking into his Harvesters 39 to 34. And I think this is the first time that I've actually seen TLO ahead in terms of economy against White Raw. Every time I always check in the unit stat, for some reason, White Raw always seems to be ahead. But this time, TLO finally taking advantage of it. I think it's because he hasn't grabbed that 3rd hatchery yet.
Yeah, so I mean, at this point, we'll see if TLO decides to go for a fast hatch or another fast 3rd. In the meantime, White Raw actually doing a very similar transition as he's been doing. Very fast +1, very fast 3 gates. Would not be surprised to see him walk in with some zealots here and try to pressure, although there's no fast 3rd hatchery, so White Raw doesn't have an exact easy target to acquire. He is putting another robotics onto the field here, and he's gonna also have another gateway. So he's actually going up to 5 gates this time. Except he's not grabbing quick gases at his natural expansion just yet. So White Rod changing it up a little bit. Oh, looks like this one stalker does end up escaping there, but probably will get re-surrounded, and there it goes. TLO doing a good job denying this time, making sure that White Rod really is in the dark. He only has his probe in the bottom right, but TLO this time doing a very faithful job of making sure to keep White Rod's tabs very faithful. So.
Yeah, he's also expanding behind this, grabbing his third. Again, though, in the last couple of games, he's kind of been delayed in terms of really getting that creep spread going. Whenever you go for that second hatchery, you can always have time to go ahead and throw down a creep jimmer, because you don't need all your larvae quite yet. You're going to be throwing up pretty heftigly, and you actually can't spend all your larvae, so it's actually effective to actually throw down your first creep jimmer and start that creep spread, and we're not seeing it from TLO in the last couple of games. I wonder why he kind of abandoned that. I've been really impressed by his creep spread from game 1 through 4, but it's kind of been off. Now I actually have an Overlord scouting that third in the bottom right corner of White Rods. It was killed off by a few sentries. The Lings all over the map, though. We do have a probe scurrying around looking for any extra hatcheries, any shenanigans from TLO. But nothing too crazy happening. Again, that third just finishing up. He's actually starting up his fire here in the main, in the top left corner. So looking like he might want to go mutas once again. Also starting up his Overlord speed. Perhaps we could have some drops in the near future. Those are pretty good on this map as well.
Yeah, you know, right now, oh, looks like White Rod tries to supply block the 4th base, and you know that's just not cool, man. That's like when when you're going up and trying to get your game on, and some other dude just swoops in and immediately offers to buy the girl another drink. You know, it's just kind of rude.
Yeah,
but
that
Kilo, he's not gonna care too much about it. He's just gonna quickly disperse of it and just plant another hatchery down very soon. So looks like White Rod's gonna go ahead and take his Q to try to move out here instead of the map. TLO does reveal that he has Overlord speed, so White Raw should be very... I mean, you never know. If you see Overlords with speed, you can't be too far removed from maybe expecting a drop, but TLO's actually not doing that just yet. He's actually getting +1 air weapons, and he's getting realists out here, Robin.
Yep, he sure is. He has 5 on the way, and we actually have a Nexus finally finishing for White Rod down here in the bottom right corner. Pretty photon cannon end, and it looks like White Rod wants to get a little aggressive up here in the top left corner. Wants to make sure no 4th hatchery is going up without it being known by him. Observer comes in to check, sees there's only a few Lings and a drone. So is White Rod going to go ahead and commit to this? No, he's going to go ahead and pull him back. At the same time, some roaches on the way for TLO. Maybe he's going to try and catch this army out of place. There is an Immortal that joined the fray, though. So I think if TLO tries to engage this, White Rod should be able to handle it. I don't know, a little bit of a stutter step there. There we go. Now we're good to go. TLO having that 5th and 6th gas up, so it can really just pump out a nice amount of mutas over time. Has 5 now out, has 4 more on the way, keeping up with roach production as well. So he's looking to have a nice ground army as well as a nice harassing army. Not too much in terms of mutas. It's not going overkill, but he's going to have the availability to have map control, and again, maybe snipe off some probes if White Rod isn't paying attention.
Yeah, and it looks like White Rod at this point just trying to wait for his upgrades to line up. He's getting Robotics Bay as well as +2 weapons and blinks, so it looks like he's going to default more to what he did in game number 3, I believe, or game number 4. I just remember he had an assortment of the standard build in terms of Colossi, Stalkers, and Sentries. Now, TLO does have some good left side of the map control, but you know, White Rod's been really good about sharking towards his right side and taking out any kind of Overlords or any kind of proxy Zerglings to be able to spot any kind of movement. Now, TLO also is going to poke into the main here. Also try to see if he can harass a little bit. Just poke out, though. He doesn't want to actually try to overextend his mutas because, again, you want to keep Protoss in their base with mutalists. The whole idea is to just have that threat, that pressure, force him to maybe get cannons back at his base, and just stall him for as long as you can.
Yeah, TLO doing a good job of that as well, as really just maximizing his opportunity here. He's gotten that 4th base up, really starting to saturate it now. Head and probe 70 or however starts 73 to 68. I would like to see maybe a 5th hatchery up, or at least a macro hatchery being thrown down pretty soon from TLO. But overall, he's playing this game pretty methodically in terms of going for the muta style. Stalkers will blink on top of the mutas though and get 1 kill. Got a pylon there as well, and it actually looks like TLO wanting to get a little aggressive here. Has some roaches join the fray. Mutas now heading down the bottom right third, and that was a good choice. Seeing there was a hefty number of Stalkers in the main, he's got to be like, okay, well, he's going to be in the main. It's going to take him a little bit of a while to get down here to the third. Maybe I can do some kind of damage. Bad news for him, though, is there is a few units here. There's a pretty beefy wall, 3 photon cannons up, so he's not going to be able to do too much. But that was a good try, nonetheless.
Yeah, so right now we'll see TLO just go up for another base, just slowly taking over the map. He's actually spreading creep with his overlords, but not with creep too much, just like you're pointing out. Would have liked to see him do that a little bit more, but you know, at TLO, he has 23 mutas, and you know, it's starting to get pretty scary flocky, though. Again, you don't want to fully engage the Stalker Ball here. TLO, oh, he's actually just going for it, and looks like White Raw is just going to blink Maiko, and looks like TLO finally pulls back here. And he's going to actually go for a Roach counterattack, pulling the Stalkers into the main here. And looks like TLO has finally infiltrated the base, and that was a very good distraction.
Yeah, he's going to go straight to the main, man.
Yeah. Wow. Oh my goodness, he's actually just going to go for it. And with Roaches here now, the Stalkers are going to have to blink with the Roaches.
Sick split there, actually, locking these Stalkers in so we can do a lot of damage. Muta's going to go ahead and join the fray as well. That was actually really well done. Colossi going to go ahead and join the fray, and the rest of the Stalkers from that third base. And at that point, TLO is going to go ahead and use his Mutas and just go straight to the natural and focus down a couple of pros, but this blink down is going to allow him to get down to the natural. But Roaches were actually killing the pros off in the main. Checking into the workers kill count right now really quick. We are at 16 workers killed. Stalkers warping in at the third as well. And this damage from these Mutas / Roach attack is actually really well done.
Yep, so at this point, I mean, TLO's still doing damage in the main. He also has an army at the bottom right. I wasn't sure if he wanted to actually go. Maybe he thought White Raw expanded, so he has all these threats going around the map. And now TLO resumes a lot of map control. White Raw is very disorganized. He lost 17 workers throughout this whole game so far. So Mutas are going back into the natural, while an attack outside the natural is also happening at the bottom of the ramp. Stalkers are just engaging. TLO's losing a lot of Mutas though. And man, he just flew a flock of Mutas into their death here. Gonna see if he can try to poke again, but White Raw is now sharking the middle of the map. Rocks are down, so he's free to enter through the middle if he chooses to.
Yeah, TLO is thinking, okay, so Mutas normally around, when he gets around the 10 mark, can take on Stalkers in equal numbers because of that splash damage, but the upgrades aren't similar. Right now, we actually have White Raw Stalkers at 2-1, and so he's taking the advantage when it gets into fights because his Stalkers are just a little more stronger, and TLO is just kind of misjudging the engagement. So now we actually have White Raw pushing across the middle of the map, bringing more Stalkers as well. Another Colossi joining in the fray. Hatchery is dying off. Now checking over for TLO, he's got Overlords. And he's got some units down here in the bottom right corner that is on a miss rally, but I don't see much more on the field, and this is looking really deadly, actually, as the 2-1 just finished up, as I mentioned earlier, for White Raw. He's looking pretty good on upgrades and having a pretty strong force here. He's got sentries here, too, so he can also cut any army that TLO sends at him in half.
You know, TLO does have units scattered everywhere. He doesn't have units, though, in the top left, so he's going to have to give that up very soon. His Mutalists at the bottom, at the top right, ended up going to the natural and dying to all of those Stalkers. Now, TLO's last desperate attempt is to go for a counter attack. Is it going to be enough here to really pull White Raw back? I don't know. I mean, TLO, he doesn't, again, he's not aware of his units in the bottom right. He has 5 Mutas and a handful of Zerglings that can really help. He also has some at the bottom center trying to stall, or trying to protect that expansion. And, I mean, at this point, TLO, he's going to just, I guess, go for an engagement here, which I don't think he can confront this army straight up here. There's just a lot of DPS.
Yeah, not with the Lings, unfortunately. He's going to kill off a couple of Stalkers, but the Lings all die off, which were the real buffering damage for Will. Just Muta's just too darn squishy. They do have 2-0 in upgrades. It's going to help out a little bit. But again, there's a hefty number of Stalkers here. White Raw going to go ahead and kill off the Satchel in the top right corner. I think just got it with 1 Stalker. And even going to expand down here in the bottom right corner. And in fact, TLO's units they left there are actually going to be a nice little trap card for him. Maybe, if they notice. But Stalkers again going to go ahead and blink on top of these Mutas, getting a couple of free kills there. At the same time, the sentries doing whatever damage they can, and TLO actually going to take that opportunity, maybe snipe a couple of sentries, but the Stalkers get back just in time, and he's just going to go straight for the main.
Yeah, you know, he has an opening right now. Looks like White Raw already catching wind of it and sending some of his units back. And looks like TLO engaging onto those units, but I mean, at this point, he's just flying around the map defending. He's not actually making any moves, and White Raw is slowly taking out base after base after base and slowly suffocating TLO's ability to reproduce here. He's just going to fully engage here with the Mutas against the Stalkers, and he's actually feeling very confident at this point. No blink rearrangement from White Raw. That's how confident he feels about going against his composition. TLO losing too many Mutalists here, and White Raw, with an incredible amount of Stalkers with +3 upgrades, is able to really chew through Mutalists with has 0 carapace upgrades. So Stalkers with so much more DPS here. TLO losing way too much. TLO pushing back and forth, unable to decide if he wants to engage, taking free damage here. Good game is called, and that concludes the series as White Raw takes the series